Pascal, and welcome to this video about telepathy. I'm not sure where you're coming from, whether you do believe it or not, but I hope that after watching this video you will be one of the people who do believe in it. Because for me it's not a believing anymore, but since I experienced it, it's out of question, so to say. And I would like to share, my experiences with it. And yeah, hopefully you will also make these experiences. Because, you can actively do it. So it just depends on your will, whether or not you will experience it. For me, the first time this happened was at the end, kind of very end of an LSD session that I had, and I was with my girlfriend at that time, and I got an intuition, I got a message that told me, try telepathy now. It was really out of nowhere. I haven't read about this topic recently or anything. It was completely not in my system up until that point. And so yeah, we decided to try it out because the message was quite clear. So we developed kind of this test on, how to do it. And basically we lay next to each other with the faces to the ceiling, so we couldn't see each other. Also, we didn't touch. So there was more or less no way to, make any signals. And then one person was obviously sending something and the other one was trying to receive that. And at first we tried it with digits. And that worked so well, I could see the digits as if someone wrote it with smoke, with my eyes closed, I could see it in smoky figures. It worked so well that I was quite surprised because once or maybe twice you can be lucky and guess the digit somehow. But the first few times it was always the first number that I was seeing. I was really seeing it. So that was something, I thought. So we changed a bit, we played a bit around with it. And we tried with colors and with animals. Colors with me doesn't work too well, even until now. It's kind of rare that I see colors with my third eye, but yeah, so colors didn't work too well for me. And then, because also with animals it worked so well, that I thought, this is not coincidence. There's more to it. And I told her that, okay, now just please think of any object that you want to, or any experience that you had. And then again, we closed our eyes. She was sending and I was receiving. We were also exchanging roles in between, but I think the receiving end is the more interesting one, because sending, yeah, you can kind of always do, but without someone receiving it, you will never know whether it was actually something. And then I saw this tree trunk, and there was grass in the wind right next to it. And I described to her that I saw that, and she said, yeah, I was thinking of a tree. And, you could think that, well, your girlfriend inside out, or I don't know what, but come on, if someone says, think of any object or any experience that you had, I think you won't come up with tree. So I was really surprised that this is actually something, and find it very cool, I must say, that this is a possibility. And since then I've tried this several times, a few dozen times, with other people who never did it before, and people I just met. I had no relation to these people sometimes. Of course, I also tried it with friends, and I would say that most of the time, definitely more than 50% of the time, it works quite well. Sometimes I don't really get anything, and I haven't figured out exactly when this happens, but yeah, sometimes it doesn't work too well. I just want to give one more example of things that happened. I was doing it with a good friend, and he was sending, and I described what I saw. I felt like, because it can be in all modalities, right? So I'm a bit focused on the visual aspect of it, on this like seeing things, but you can have auditory, olfactory, you can have like impressions, you can have thoughts, sounds, I don't know, whatever. Um, and I felt that I'm kind of elevated. Like I'm a bit higher than usually, so maybe I don't know, I was maybe flying or hovering or something, but I was definitely higher of some sort, and there was light coming from the top. But more than that, I didn't really know what to say. And then he told me that he was thinking of a scene where he was in a like theater or something. So he was sitting in the audience and then looking at this scene where obviously there's like the stage which is higher than the rest of the people, and there's a lot of light coming from the top. So it's an interesting example of, like, I didn't even see it from his perspective. I saw it from the other perspective, which is very funny by itself. But it's an example that, like, if someone sends an image or whatever he wants to convey, then it, on the receiving end, it is so that he or she will understand the message. So there seems to be some kind of an encryption and decryption, or more like encoding and decoding process. So my friend has this certain thought form, and when I receive it and interpret that thing, it turns out differently. But still, obviously, in this example, you can see that it was still the same thing, right? And one last example that I want to share is I was doing it with a boy, maybe 10, 12 years old, quite recently actually. And we decided to stick with the letters of the alphabet. And we tried 4 rounds. Every time I was receiving and he was sending something. And out of these 4 rounds, there were 3 in a row in which I was getting the letter in the first or second attempt. Or maybe it was the first attempt, but the letter was kind of, sometimes you could say it could be a V, but then, it could also be that there's one N is missing or something, but I don't recall exactly, but let's say it could have been one of 2 letters from the alphabet. But if you get this 3 times right in a row, out of 26 possible letters, I think that's quite something. And I'm just saying that obviously not to brag, because it doesn't work every time, but to say that this is not just mere coincidence. It's not just guessing or knowing someone or I don't know what. Like, you could think that way if it happened just once. You tried once with digits and then, oh yeah, I guessed right because the chances are just 1 to 9. So yeah, maybe that was just luck. But I've done it so often that I can 100% tell you that it's not just coincidence. You can really set your intention to do it, to either send to someone or to receive it, and it works. Just I haven't found out exactly when are the conditions perfectly right and what makes it really like difficult to receive these kind of things. What I think right now is that it seems to work better if you and the other person are on the same wavelength. So if you get along really well, I'm not sure if that's something that you say in English, being on the same wavelength, but you get what I mean. So if you get along with that person, that obviously helps. And I also got the impression that, which kind of adds up on this aspect, that if you had sex with someone, it also seems to work quite well, because you're even more closely connected to that person. Even with someone that I just had sex once with, or like there was some kind of sexual attraction, and we didn't know each other for too long, but still even that worked with someone who never did it. So that's quite interesting. But yeah, you can definitely do it with a total stranger, and it will also work. and I'm pretty much convinced that I don't have a special skill or anything. Like, if one guy, one man, human can do it, then everybody can. So, yeah, I would encourage you to just try it out with someone that you're close with. Make sure maybe that you're in a relaxed state, having no sorts of time pressure or anything. And yeah, maybe just try it out. Yeah, and maybe another detail about telepathy is that sometimes, I think it's more about your intuition than your rational mind, because sometimes you try to kind of like grab the answer. You try to, okay, tell me what is it, and it feels like more coming from the rational side, whereas your intuition will, in my opinion, be the more adequate aspect of you that will give you the answer. So it sometimes happens that you decide to try telepathy with someone, and you will you start and you immediately know the answer by intuition, like it's already there. But then your mind or your intellect kicks in and says, "Oh no, maybe not that one." So what's the answer? You're like listen. Then you're like listening, but the answer was already there. It was instantly there. This can be like by visual, or it can be by a thought, or you can hear it. It really depends. I had all of these modes, but usually I'm kind of focused on the visual. I really want to see something, but maybe that's not the best way. So you should always stay open for all modalities that there are. But it's kind of like a trap, I think, that when your intellect starts to find the answer, because it's more like, no, you just lie back, and then you would just let it come to you. I mean, it's one of those big principles that, like, usually we try to achieve something, and we go forward for something, we act to get something. But the other mode is you let things come to you. Not just in telepathy, but I mean, maybe in the whole life, right? So you can strive for things, achieve them, or maybe not, but you can also trust that the right things will come to you without any struggle. I'm not saying I mastered that skill, but I know it's a thing. Like, it's a paradigm shift where you need trust in the universe, and you need to relax and let it happen. So with telepathy, I think it's the same, that you should be in a relaxed state, maybe alpha state. Yeah, and don't try too hard. But I would really encourage you to try it out with someone. And first of all, I hope that you believe me. I mean, you can choose not to, but I mean, what's the point? Why would I tell you this kind of story? I definitely wouldn't tell you to make myself more important or, famous. So you can 100% believe me that this is what I really experienced. And in case you're still skeptical, you should be aware that, like, just because you haven't experienced something doesn't mean it's not there, right? So I recently just had the same example. Maybe it wasn't the last video, I don't know, but like when you're a child of 10 years and you have never been in love and you never even listened to music properly, and you think, okay, now that's it, I have my small box, everything's in there, and there is no more experiences, and outside of this box, nothing happens, nothing exists. That would be stupid, right? So I'm trying to open your understanding, like help you grow, because some entity did it with me, and maybe that's part of the path, right? That we pass on our knowledge. And yeah, with this one specifically, I don't know too many people who actually did it. There's always these believers and non-believers, but even out of the believers, it's rare when I talk to them that they said, yeah, I specifically tried something that I just described, for example. So yeah, it's a real thing. Telepathy is real, and hopefully my skills will also improve over the next years and decades and centuries. And yeah, this is just the beginning. I can tell that I'm still with these magical things. I'm still so much in the embryo state, and there's a lot more to come. But seeing the trajectory of the last year in my life, it looks good. It looks good. And I want to help you also get on this path and motivate you and encourage you. It's worth spending your time on the path. See you next video. Bye.